Good day to everyone. This is the control panel of my generator number 3 inside of the engine control room. From automatic mode, I'm going to put it in manual mode because I'm going to do some electrical inspection, maintenance checks, and Megger insulation tests. This is the circuit breaker tools from which I'm going to use it. Both sides have Allen key that we need to unscrew it, and this is the insertion hole for the key, and this is a push pin lock from which we need to push it. Once we rotate the insertion hole with a key clockwise or counterclockwise, we are able to switch from connected to test and from test to isolate. This is the circuit breaker that we are using here on board. Now I just put and inserted on the insertion hole the key switch, and this key switch must need to be rotated counterclockwise directions, and as you will observe, while you rotated it about 16 turns times, the connection setting will change from connected into test, and we need to push the push pin and then continue to rotate again, so we will change the connection setting from test into isolated. That is how we isolate the circuit breaker and how we do started to pull out or drone the circuit breaker before doing any electrical maintenance work on alternator. So guys, as you will find, I already make 16 turns. I just push the push pin and I'm going to continue rotate again about 16 times, so we are able to change the state of the connection setting from test into isolated. As you can see on the connection setting, the circuit breaker is already released. Aside from that, there is also mechanism at the bottom part of the circuit breaker which is already released, and that is another thing that you must need to check and verify that the circuit breaker is already isolated. Since the circuit breaker is already isolated, we must need to do another step to pull it out. By pulling it out and unscrewing the Allen key, make a little bit pull, then as you will observe, the circuit breaker is being discharged. The yellow color charge turn into a discharge. So once it is discharged, you must need to pull the side to side guide rails. By pulling it, you can now easily drone out the circuit breaker out of the main switchboard bus bar. In doing it, you are able to inspect the inside condition of the contact of the circuit breakers. You will easily check some of the mechanical mechanism, the supports, and sometimes we need to put some lubricants on this portion. So as you will see, the circuit breaker is still in good condition, and if you want to thoroughly pull it down, you must need to lift this up mechanism. But since we are going to do only a Megger test and some alternator maintenance, we keep the circuit breaker as is, like that. Okay, I like to emphasize that this white colored mark discharge was come up before it is a yellow colored charge mark. This come up once we leave this red color mechanism and make a little bit pull out on a circuit breaker. On board, this is the circuit breaker I have. This circuit breaker maker is Teresaki Team Power 2 model ARS 2165, volts 1000 volts with UIMP 12 kV and ampere current capacity of 1600 amperes. Now I am on the back side of my main switchboard inside the control room, and I'm going to isolate the generator voltage fuses. As you will find, there is a cable green, yellow, and red, the UVW or known as RST. This has no voltage because this comes from the generator, and on the upper side there is a bus bar, blue, yellow, red. This is live, have a 450 volts connected on a bus bar. This is the fuses from which I'm going to isolate before I'm going to proceed on the alternator side to isolate the AVR before proceeding to do a Megger test. This is my engine Peter, the hardworking man. Okay guys, take note, the generator control panel must need to be in manual mode. Okay, this is the generator nameplate ratings, and I have here 720 kilowatts, 450 volts, 900 kVA, and this generator has an engine driven made by SDX Daihatsu. This is the power cable that I have, and down there is a power generator 1, 2, and 3, from which I'm going to do some maintenance, inspection, checks, and Megger insulation tests. This is the voltage regulators with power modules, having power supply, active actual value smoothing circuit, control amplifier, pulse unit, over voltage protector, external reference value settlers. On a power module, there is a resistor which has about 9 ohms, and that is part of my power module of my ABR. And I have here the SUKT. S stands for the droop potentiometer, from which you will get able to adjust the under voltage output of your generators. The U, the reference value potentiometer, normally found it on the engine room. The K, the potentiometer control gain. The T, the potentiometer reset time. And also inside have the R47, that is potentiometer disturbance feed forward. R101, that is the resistor in back circuit. V22, this is a thyristor in back circuit. V101, that is a thyristor in back circuit. And V102, that is the excitation rectifiers. Make sure that all connectors X1, X2, X3, and X4 must be removed before doing a Megger insulation check. As you will see here, I have the export terminal. It is difficult to remove by hands, so you must need a 2 hands to remove it properly. So, as what you see here, I just removed the plug connector X4 going to my ABR, and now we are keep checking and inspecting the visual appearances of this ABR. Okay guys, since we already isolated the AVR plug connector X1, X2, X3, X4, the fuse on the power generators on the main switchboard, and isolated the circuit breaker, we are now going to proceed with the Megger insulation check. Take note, in doing a Megger insulation check, we must need to consider the rated voltage of your electrical machine. For electrical machine less than 2000 volts or 2 kV, the applicable test potential voltage that you may apply on it is ranges from 100 VDC to 500 VDC potential voltage, and the critical insulation value is computed by 450 volts divided by 1000 and multiply it by 0.5 mega ohms per kilovolts, and that is your critical insulation resistance. Normally, for low voltage machine less than 2 kV, the insulation minimum value is 10 mega ohms. You must need to take note also for the high voltage rated machine more than 2 kilovolts. After long period of operation, the critical insulation value is 100 mega ohms per kilovolts, or you may compute about 2000 volts divided by 1000 and multiply by 100, and you may get about 200 mega ohms. You must consider this as a rule of thumb when doing a Megger insulation check for alternators and power generators. Okay guys, since we already performed the Megger insulation check and test, we need to put back everything on the original position, the plugs and connector of our AVRs. Then after putting it back, we must need to connect again the circuit breaker from which we isolated and pull out from the main switchboard. Then we need to connect also the fuses, and after this we need to put the control panel on standby mode. This is the circuit breaker, and from here I'm going to push, and you will see here there is a linkages mechanism that will lock and hold the circuit breaker. As you will see, even we move and push the circuit breaker, this will no longer going in. What you need to do is just lifted this two mechanism on both sides. After lifting it, just push these two guide rails on right and left side of your circuit breaker. Once you push this one and this guide rails is on proper position, that is the time for you to put the key tools inside of the insertion hole, and then rotate it in clockwise direction. As you rotated it, you feel and observe the connection setting. From isolated, it will move on test, and then the push pin will come up. You must need to push again the push pin to go in, and then just continue to rotate the tools on the insertion hole in a clockwise direction. As you would see now, I am on the test position. This is the connection setting. Just push this push pin and it's going in. And what I said earlier, I mentioned you continue to rotate it in a clockwise direction. By doing this, the circuit breaker will be connected. Connection setting will move from isolation to test and test to connected. Now, the circuit breaker is about connected, and the next thing you must need to do, you must need to properly secure the circuit breaker by screwing in the Allen key located on both sides. To secure it, just pull it a little bit and then pull it also a little bit, and by hand tight you can rotate it in a clockwise. Then to tighten it further, you must need to use the Allen key. This is the tools that we are going to use, and we need to put it back in proper position so that it is available when you do next time inspection, maintenance, and checks on circuit breaker or doing any maintenance on alternator side. Electrical globes matigas, kaya gumamit ako ng guantes. Yan, okay, ito ganun din. Ipatan natin 1, 2, 3. Okay, ito yan. Connected na siya, fitted na yung kanyang support. Kailangan ito from discharge ilagay natin sa charge. Gagawin nyo itong lever na to, no? Bobombahin lang natin to, bilangan natin kung ilang pieces. Isa, dalawa, ito na, tignan nyo tatlo, tumigas na siya, no? Tapos 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yun, may naklik na. Okay. Ayun, 10 times, no? Napansin nyo, 10 times yung discharge na white colored ay na-charge na siya. Sabihin, no? Matigas na yan, hindi mo na siya mapepersa. Hanggang 10 stroke. Sabihin, itong circuit breaker ko na to, ready na yan para magamit ulit. So, dahil tapos na tayo sa circuit breaker, no? Insured naman na firm na yung support, no? From manual, itong kanyang control panel, no? Pipress mo lang to para mai-convert siya sa automatic. Yun, nag-green na siya. From red, naging green. Okay? Okay guys, sana may natutunan tayo ngayon paano mag-isolate ng circuit breaker, ano dapat yung fuse na tanggalin dun sa likod ng main switchboard, at bago paano ang gagawin, paano mag-perform ng Megger test. Uy! Heavy can! Okay guys, since we are already done and made a Megger test installation, we need to put back everything, and that is the power generator fuses at the back of the main switchboard inside of the control room, and we need to make it ready so that once we need a power generator, we can use it and utilize it. That's it. Thank you. I hope that you've learned knowledge and good understanding on how to do it.
inside my heart, like in my life. Leaving all your wrongs and your lies, but I fear in the end I lose. Only you turn my life, turn it just this way. Touching the light.
A little something like this.
Magisayaw, magiyataw kay DJ Rams Guapo.
Love is a burning fire, cause then the flames grow higher, babe. Don't let it steal your heart, it's easy. Girl, this game can't last forever. Why? We cannot live together, try. Don't let him take your love from me. You're not good, can't you see? It's not a Louis. Only love breaks a heart, not a Louis. Only love's paradise, oh she's only looking to me. Not a Louis. Oh she's only looking to me. Oh let it to me.
DJ Rams, Idol.
And it goes a little something like this.
Cause this boy wants to get stay. Loves more than he can handle, girl. Oh, come and stay.
DJ Rounds. Idol. Lanao del Norte Mix Club.
Reggie Flores Remix. This is RBF Mini Sound.